Hello friends, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Anna, aka Brookwillow, and today I have quite a bit of knitting to show you. I have two finished objects, a brand new whip, and some old projects that I've been working on, and some other good fun stuff to show you as well. I hope you have a nice little project to work on, and let's jump right into it. I am actually wearing my first finished object that I'm going to show you today, and it is my completed Tessellated Cardi by Andrea Mowry. I started this particular sweater over a year ago, and I started spinning the yarn for it a year and a half ago. So this is one that's been a long time in the making, and I'm so happy that it's finally done, because I've been so excited to wear this piece. I don't actually really have any good cardigans in my closet, which is kind of wild to me because I would say they're probably one of my favorite layering pieces to wear. But thankfully last year I got really into the mode of making some cardigans, and I even spun up some yarn for another one that I'm working on that I'm not going to show today. I am just so happy to have this particular one done. I made a size 5 in this, and I will be honest, it's a little bit tighter than I thought it would be, but that's not a bad thing. I actually really do love the way that this cardigan fits me. I guess I was just expecting there to be a little bit more ease, but I don't think it's necessarily a cardigan meant to have a lot of ease. So I'm really happy that I made the size 5 and didn't go down in size. I did hit gauge, so that's all good there. I mentioned that I used some Handspun yarn in this, and that is the color changing that you see going on through here. It's a very subtle color change, and that's kind of what I wanted. I just wanted it to kind of be a hue, or just like a very gradual gradient throughout it, so it wasn't too crazy. And I spun up 3 different braids of fiber from Lavender Lune Yarn Co. Last year I had a monthly subscription with them, and I spun the yarn up using my supported spindles, and it was actually the first yarn that I ever spun on my supported spindles, which led to my complete love for spindle spun yarn, because it is just the plumpiest, full of life yarn that I have ever spun. And I actually have some that I'm going to show you in a little bit. So I had 3 different braids. They are all kind of similar to each other, and I spun up 3 100-gram skeins of them, and I actually have almost 2 skeins left over that I caked both of them up. And actually I'm going to show you them so you can kind of see the actual color changing throughout it. Here are the 2 caked up skeins that I have left over, but you can kind of really see the color changing throughout it. It was very like red, white, and bluey, but with a little hint of some like caramel color. And I'm not a huge red, white, and blue person. Those colors just aren't really speaking to me. And so I wanted to make sure that I toned the yarn down into a colorway that really was me. And that's why I am just so pleased with this. And I paired it with some very warm, I shouldn't say neutral, but somewhat neutral colors. The main yarn that I used, which is the sleeve cuffs and the button band, is from Sonder Yarn Co. and it's the Sunday Morning Luxe in the colorway Full English. It was my first time knitting with Sonder yarn, and I would definitely knit with it again. I really love this base. I'm almost certain it's a non-superwash. It certainly feels like a non-superwash, and it was just really nice to work with. And she has a very beautiful color scheme for all the different colors that this particular yarn comes in. And then I used, for the hairy yarn that it calls for, another Sonder Yarn Co, and I believe it's the Halo in Horse Feather is the color, and it's like a very dark burgundy color. I'm excited because I actually have some left over that I think I'm gonna knit up one of my friends a little party line scarf with. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but yeah, so I'm happy that I have some left over, and I have a little bit of this full English leftover as well, so I'm gonna have to find a nice little project to make with that. And I decided to go with some wooden buttons. I just bought these off of a Etsy shop. I think it was from Avocado Stitches. I just searched for wood buttons and these ones came up and I liked them. So I do like the way the buttons look. I like that they're a little bit darker, so they play off with that burgundy burgundy mohair a little bit more to kind of make the cardigan a bit more moody, because I always had the intention for this to be a fall garment that I wear. I'm sure I'll get a lot of use out of it throughout the rest of this season, but that was my main goal for this color scheme. I did make a mistake on this sweater that I'm going to address at a later point in time, but essentially it's the button band. I'm going to get up and show you up close. First, I'll show you this side of the button band. It's looking nice and relatively straight. But then on the other side, you can see how it's pulling up quite a bit. And that is definitely because I didn't pick up enough stitches on the first side of the button band. And I know to fix it, I just need to pick up more stitches, and that'll easily solve the problem. The only thing is I have to unravel the entire button band in order to fix that, and I just want to wear this. I don't really want to work on it anymore just because I've been working on it for so long. So I think that will definitely be a future on a problem. I'll probably address it in like 2 years. It actually doesn't look so bad when I have it opened, if the front kind of curls in a little bit, or even if I have it buttoned. It's not like super obvious, but it does bug me enough where I will want to fix it. But other than that, I'm still considering it a finished object because I'm sitting here wearing it, and yeah. My next finished object is another Andrea Mowry garment / accessory, and it is the Traveler hood. So here's the front, and then it has this lovely little hood on top of it. I actually knit and finished this garment last, her pattern testing secret until release day. And so we all had it finished in April, and then it took a while for the pattern to be released. At one point I got nervous. I thought I even lost it, but thankfully it just was in my cedar chest with the rest of my knitwear. All that aside, I'm so happy I can finally share about it because I truly love this piece so much. It just makes a great layering piece, and I love to layer clothes quite a bit, but I don't like the bulk specifically in the arms, especially if I'm wearing a jacket. If I have like multiple layers in the arms under a jacket, it just feels too constricting and I hate it. But with this, you get all of that layered look without the extra bulk. And because these sides aren't connected, it lays super nice in the front and the back and just adds an extra layer, especially now that we're kind of getting into the cold season. This is going to be excellent to just throw on, even if I'm just taking the dogs for a walk or I just want that added warmth. I knit size 4 in this, and I think with this particular project, you don't even have to be so specific with the size that you knit. I feel like I could knit the sizes across the board, and they all would fit me nice. And I think it just is because it doesn't have arms or like connected sides or anything, so it's a little bit more forgiving. I did get gauge with this particular swatch. I do think Andrea, Mowry, and I have a very similar gauge in how we knit, because I seem to get it spot on every single time I knit a swatch. So it's very easy for me to trust what's happening in the final product. I also really love the yarn that I used for it. So this main color, I used Wooldreamers Cautiva, which is like a very woolen spun yarn, and it's kind of got a very downy feeling to the yarn. At first it felt a little bit kind of weird to knit with the yarn. It's kind of hard to explain. Do you ever get that feeling where like if your hands are dry and you are working with yarn and knitting it, it just freaks you out until you put on some hand moisturizer? It kind of definitely had that feeling as I was knitting it up, but now that it's all done, I truly love the feeling of the fabric altogether, and it's super lightweight. And since it's a woolen spun, it's trapping more air in it, allowing it to be a very warm accessory. And then I wanted to have a contrast drawstring, but not too contrasty. So I ended up using this leftover sock yarn that I got from Coast to Coast Yarn Co. It was from, she did like a quilt collection last year, and it was one of the colorways from that. I have been getting a lot of use out of this particular yarn. There's another project that I tested for that I'll show you when it's ready to release, but I used just some of this in that as well. So it's kind of the yarn that keeps on giving, and I still have some of it left over even after knitting up a whole pair of socks with it too. But I like how it has a little bit of this camel and white inside of it, because it looks really nice with a camel colored jacket that I have. So it looks really nice together. But yeah, I'm really excited to have this in my closet. I don't have any slip over Dickie style garments at all, and I just am happy to finally have something. And I really just love the fact that this one has a hood on it, which also was very easy to knit. I'll kind of show you the back of it. You start out by knitting the hood first, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. And then you knit this nice casing that the drawstring goes through. And that's a lot easier than it looks. I think she wrote her directions very well, where it wasn't confusing at all. I kind of think there wasn't really much feedback in terms of having to fix things with the pattern for this one. So yeah, I highly recommend it if you want to knit this one up. I think I'm going to show you what I consider to be a half-finished object, and that is this sock right here. If you caught my video that I put out last week, it was actually a knitting ambiance style video, and I had so much fun making it. So first of all, I absolutely love ambiance videos that are available on YouTube. I often put it on in the background when I'm like cleaning the house, or I'll even put it on for the dogs because they generally have like nice jazz music playing or classical music, and it's just nice ambiance to listen to and to also look at, because sometimes I don't always want to consume content, but I still want something going on in the background. And that's why I thought it would be really fun to make a knitting version of that, where I knit this sock from start to finish, and I added some nice music to the background. So if you find that you're in the market for that type of video, I would definitely check that out. I'll link it in my description below, but you can also find it on my channel. And some people even mentioned that it helps them fall asleep at night if they can't sleep. So I thought that was really nice. In that video, I knit this sock, and I figured I couldn't knit a sock that required a pattern in that video because I would be giving away the whole pattern since I'm knitting it from start to finish. So I kind of came up with my own pattern for this particular sock, and I chose this stitch. This is the mermaid stitch, and I chose it because when I first got this sock yarn, which is part of Farmer Daughter Fibers sock squad, it reminded me of like a brook trout or maybe even a brown trout in the coloring. It's not as easy to tell when I worked the pattern up, but there's quite a bit of speckling in it, and I just thought it was very pretty. And Casey from Young Folk Knits and Ashley from Design by So and So are hosting a knit along or a make along, which is the Fish Girl Fall, and it's really just anything fish themed or fisherman themed or fisherman inspired. It's a very loose interpretation of the word fish. And so this, I decided, was going to be my submission to that, and that is why I did the mermaid stitch, because it reminded me of fish scales. So these are like my little fishy socks. I just cast on like 60 some stitches for the cuff here, did a 2x2 rib, went right into the pattern, heel flap and gusset, knit the foot and then the toe, all using the contrast color of the yarn. And this is really easy to adapt to yourself if you're interested in making the same sock. I'm not going to put out a pattern for it. I'm just not really in the mood to do that. But if you just take any vanilla sock pattern that you like and add the mermaid stitch onto it, you should be good to go pretty much. And you can find the tutorial. I found it by just searching for mermaid knitting stitch on Google, and it came up with a few different results for the tutorial. So if you want to make something similar, I recommend doing that. I also like this one. The way it drapes is super nice. The fact that this isn't even blocked yet and I don't have it on a sock blocker yet, it's such a nice shape. So I can't even imagine, well, I probably won't even end up blocking these because, again, I don't think they really need to be blocked, but I really like the way that the yarn works up with it and just how drapey this stitch pattern is. So obviously I need to knit the other sock, and I should probably cast that on very soon before I lose any kind of mojo on it. The next two projects that I've been working on are also older whips. I decided that I don't want my works in progress to linger for too long. I just don't want to hold on to sweaters for like 2+ years without ever finishing it, because there is a reason why I cast them on. It's obviously because I really want them in my wardrobe, and so I'm trying to just pump the brakes on casting on new projects and focusing on getting these older ones out of the way. So with that said, my next work in progress I made a big accomplishment on, and this is the Highline Henley by Tori from Tori Knits NYC. So I bound off the body of it, and I just have to do the sleeves. I did modify this pattern quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit. I decided that I really like the way the stockinette looks on the reverse side. So with all the purl bumps, I just really think it's pretty how the stripes blend together. And yeah, so I'm basically knitting the whole thing inside out, and that way I don't have to purl in the round forever. I'm just knitting in the round forever. So that's how I've adapted to that. But I also decided to make this fully reversible because I also do really like the clean stripe side. So I'm gonna put it inside out. And the way that I made it reversible is just by making sure that I was knitting everything very clean on the inside and weaving in my ends in a way that you wouldn't really be able to notice it on the inside. So here is the stripe side. I do still have to attach the buttons on the front. I think I'm just going to do the same buttons on the main side. But the buttons, in order to have them on both sides, I have to completely close up the Henley portion, and it's just going to be decorative instead of useful. But I don't see myself needing to ever open these buttons up to have like a little V. I think it'll be fine just wearing it with it closed all the time. And if I decide that I do want it to open, then I'm just going to have to rework that little button band in the front here. I intend this to be just like a super comfy sweatshirt-y style sweater that I'll probably wear a lot around the house, but obviously I'll wear it out into the real life as well. But there's nothing like too fancy going on with it. There's not lace work. There's not a ton of different types of yarn or color work in it. And so that way I think I'll be more inclined to throw this on just as I go. And I think it'll be a really easy sweater to just throw on with a pair of jeans and walk out the door, and it'll be a nice, easy sweater to wear. So yeah, I just have the sleeves left on this. I'll probably cast those on pretty soon here, but I am feeling very accomplished with having the body completely done. My next work in progress is a shawl. This is the only shawl that I have going on the needles right now, and I always like to have a shawl as a work in progress. And this is the Quicksand shawl from Lina's 52 Weeks of Shawls Volume 1. I don't know if they've put out a Volume 2. If they did, I would certainly buy it. This pattern is written by Hanna Maciejewska, and I have seen a lot of final versions of this shawl, and I just completely fell in love with it. It combines some brioche knitting, some cabling, and there's even like a little bit of lace work in it as well. It just has all of the major knitting techniques in one project, and this is one that's really nice if I just want to turn my brain off and completely focus on a project. The instructions are completely written out row by row, and there's like 3 pages of it, and it's a lot to look at. So it's really nice to just completely focus on. A very good project to work on with having an ambiance video in the background. I'm getting a lot of joy out of this. This is definitely a process knit because, again, it's just really enjoyable to see these natural waves kind of form with it. But at the same time, I'm also very excited to wear it when it's all done. I think this neutral kind of golden honey color is going to look good with a lot of things in my closet. And I think the warmer tone looks pretty good on me as well, as opposed to a cooler yellow color. And speaking of the yarn, I bought a whole cone of this yarn from the Yarnery in St. Paul. I had knit a shawl in the past with this same yarn, and it was a cable knit textured type shawl, and it's definitely my most worn shawl to date. So I knew that I would love working with this yarn again, and kind of wanted something in a lighter color because that other shawl is more dark. So I wanted a lighter textured shawl. And I'm holding this double because it's like a lace weight yarn. I don't actually know the color of this. If I find it, I will put it in the description below. It doesn't have a button band because it came on a cone, but there's a little sticker inside. And yeah, I really enjoy working on a cone. You definitely get a full sweater quantity and more out of them, and they're relatively inexpensive. I think I bought this cone for like $45, which that's a lot of yarn for your money. And yeah, I don't really have any more to talk about that. Those are the main projects I've been working on these past couple of weeks. I have been spinning a little bit. I've been kind of trying to clear off my supported spindles. I've had a couple projects on them since this summer, and it's like, okay, it's time to wrap these up so I can start spinning up more fall colored fibers. So I plied up this yarn this morning, actually. This was a spin that I started this summer because it had a lot of summery color to it. It's one of the Lavender Lune colorways, and I believe all of the braids she spun for that subscription were all rambouillet, which I find to be really nice to spin up on my supported spindles. And so I'm going to take this off the nitty knotty here and kind of wind it up so you can see it closer up. I obviously have not washed this yet, so they haven't really, like, the fibers haven't completely settled yet. I just realized I forgot to tie up around the skein before I put it up like this, so that'll be fun for me in the future to figure out. But here's a look at the colors up close. Again, they definitely have a summery, springy vibe to it. And I think this yarn will be nice come like next February when I really start craving this grassy green and spring-like colors. So I'm sure I'll be excited to have that in the future. I realized that I'm starting to accumulate a lot of braids in my stash, and when I spin on the wheel, I tend to spin mostly just sweater projects, so they're often long-term projects that take me a really long time to spin up, and that's kind of why the rest of the braids start to accumulate, especially because I prefer to spin the color changing ones on my supported spindles because it's really fun to spin the color changing at a slower pace. Sometimes when I spin on my wheel, I don't actually really see the fiber that I'm spinning up because I'm going quite a bit faster. But with a supported spindle, you're winding it on the shaft of the spindle and stuff, and you're really experiencing the color changing of it. So that's why I enjoy spinning on the spindles. With that said, I do have a lot of one-off braids that I have in solid colors, and I kind of had this idea to spin up all of those solids and make a sweater out of them from the Marie Wallen Aaron book. I bought that like right when it came out, and I haven't knit anything from it yet. I get distracted, I think, and there's so many awesome patterns in there, and I just think it would be so cool to knit one of her sweaters in completely hand spun. So I think I'm gonna start prioritizing those one skeins because yes, it's technically another sweater spin that I'm doing, but it's going to be all different colored braids, so it'll feel like I'm flying through it a lot faster. And one of the braids that I'm going to use for it is actually from a pretty brand new fiber dyer, and the name of the company is Mint Fiber Co. I saw this pop up on my Instagram feed like a month ago maybe, and I immediately followed her because I thought the colorways were so beautiful, and she actually reached out to me to send a couple of braids to try, and I have them right here in front of me. So this first one is one of the ones I'm envisioning to be in a sweater, and that is this braid right here. The colorway is Deep Raspberry, and it's 100% Horsetail. I just think that is beautiful. I think it's coming up a little bit lighter on camera, but it's just this very deep wine color. Well, it's called Deep Raspberry, so that makes sense with the name. And I just like how it's very subtle tonal, and I think it's going to spin up into some beautiful yarn. So I'm going to make this a 3-ply because I'm going to be using Aran weight yarn for this sweater, and my 3-plies all tend to spin up like an Aran weight yarn. I also got another braid from her, and it's a beautiful color changing braid right here. I noticed that I really tend to gravitate towards these colors in terms of spinning up like color changing braids, because I've bought a lot of braids in this particular colorway, but this one is even moodier than the rest with kind of this khaki army green within it, and I think this is going to be so pretty. The color of this one is Moss and Honey, and this is a 100% merino breed. I highly recommend you check out Mint Fiber Co. She, like I said, has a lot of beautiful different colorways available on her shop, and I think these 2 colors are still available as well. So if you really like them, definitely go check it out. I will link her website in the description below, and also her Instagram, so you can kind of stay up to date with everything that she's working on. Okay, the last thing I'm going to talk about today is a future sewing pattern that I will be doing, and it's not one that was mentioned in my sewing plan video that I made a couple videos ago. A lot of you, if you watch me, you probably know who Anna from APT Atelier is. She also has a YouTube channel on here, and I think we've been doing YouTube for about the same amount of time. She's definitely one of my favorite YouTubers, and I think it was her last video. She was talking about a sewing pattern that she developed. She's starting to kind of get into sewing patterns a little bit, and I'm really looking forward to everything she comes out with because I love her style and I feel like she makes a lot of things that I want to make. She put out this bag pattern, and it's called the Promenade Tote, and it's intended to be a bag that you would attach onto a stroller and kind of have everything nice and easy up front for you. However, I don't have any kids. I'm not gonna ever really need a stroller bag, but I thought, and she mentioned this as well, that this bag would make an awesome project bag. And the reason why I was so gravitated to it is because I've been seeing those redesigned bags that are kind of the cylinder shape of bag, and they're like really structured, and I just like how open the mouth of it is, so you can really dig around and get to it. I don't own that bag. I would love to, but it's pretty expensive. And so with Anna's pattern, she kind of created the same shape of that, but took it a step further because she added a ruffle trim around it, some handles that you can kind of change where the handles are, similar to like a crisscross bra, how you can like switch up where the straps go. And then she added a cinch top to it so you can completely close everything to keep everything safe inside. And when she posted the tester call for it, I jumped at it so fast, and thankfully she chose me because I'm really excited to make this bag. I feel like I've been thinking about making project bags for so long, and I never actually get around to doing it. So this is going to be a great way for me to like actually focus on making one, especially because the test is due less than a week from now, and I haven't started yet, but that's because I was waiting for the fabric, and it finally was actually delivered this morning, earlier than I thought it was going to be, so that was like a fun little surprise. I'll go ahead and show you. Okay, so there's main fabric and then there's a lining, and I decided to use this flannel for the main fabric. I just really love these soft colors. I think this is a pattern that I will like year round. I really like this tartany style plaid, but in like the muted earthy tones. So this is going to be the main color. And then for the interior lining, I chose this beautiful like camel color with a little bit of a pattern on the inside to keep it interesting. And these are all like quilting. This is quilting cotton, and I mean, I don't know if like this flannel is intended for quilting only or if you can make other things with it, but the bag is also quilted too. I forgot to mention that as well. So it'll have a little layer of batting in between, and I will quilt the fabric. So that's why I wanted to use quilting cotton. I thought that made the most sense. So that's what I'm going to be sewing. I forgot to print out the pattern where I have access to a printer. So I need to do that before. I was going to start cutting everything out tomorrow, but again, I need a printer in order to do that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm focusing on right now. I've been pretty into the fall mode, as you all probably know, as we all probably are. I ended up watching the entire season of Over the Garden Wall yesterday while I stayed home and knit, of course. And that was such a nice, cute cartoon to watch for this time of year. I definitely recommend that. And then I've been reading a spooky book called The Last One Left. And this one is about a caretaker who goes to this mansion to take care of this woman who was like accused of murdering her entire family. And that's kind of the base of the story. I'm probably like halfway done, and it's definitely a book that catches my attention. And I don't even fall asleep after a chapter, which really says a lot. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been reading. I haven't really been listening to a lot of specific albums or anything. This time of year, I really enjoy listening to jazz music. I definitely have to thank my sister for that. She absolutely loves jazz music, and we work for our family's business, and so we always play the Autumn Jazz station on Pandora in our showroom, and I end up just listening to jazz on my way home from work and even just on the background at my house. So getting a lot of jazz music in, and that's just been really nice to go with the feel of the season. That's everything I have to share with you this week. If you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future content. And if you are a fan of the Knitting Podcast, please give this a thumbs up. That lets me know that you really like this, and it kind of helps put my videos out into the rest of the world for those who might enjoy this as well. In the meantime, I hope you have a good rest of your week, and we will chat next time. Bye.